I'm sure I can come up with an embarrassing moment. I just may need to think from it. Can we come back to that and, while we're doing other stuff?
Okay, did you guys ever think growing up that you'd end up working together?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think we ever thought we'd work together. No, especially not like in sales. I mean, for the most part. I mean, that was definitely not something we thought we'd probably be doing.
Like, if you could go back and talk to 16-year-old Joe, what would he have expected his future to look like?
I think 16-year-old Joe would have expected or hoped his future would look like what this one looks like. Maybe how I got here. He wouldn't necessarily want to do it that way. There are times that I always say to Chris when it comes, like with the restaurant and stuff, I had an opportunity, I could have sold it much earlier than that, and sometimes I say, man, I wish I could have. But then I might not end up where I am if I had done that. So, it definitely is I think 16-year-old Joe would be happy with where 54-year-old Joe is.
But he wouldn't have expected that you're working with Chris.
No, I could say, as Christopher said, with the depending on who's watching this, the basketball games in the driveway in Yardley did not reflect a business partnership. No, not at all. No.
Who was better at basketball?
It wasn't so much who was better. It was so much
better antagonizer.
Who could get under each other's skin the most. Like we were never on the same team, and I think that was probably done from our friends just because they knew what the outcome would be. The game never ended because it would.
Or it ended abruptly.
It ended abruptly because there was a basketball thrown at somebody or something like that, and
boil over
escalate
But two teenage brothers would do.
Yeah.
So.
And Chris, you wouldn't have expected to be working with Joe as a teenager?
No, I definitely not in sales or certainly not real estate. That wasn't even on the radar back at that time. So no, I wouldn't say that I would expected it either.
Yeah.
So, no.
Okay, and then you guys have different strengths that complement each other, that bring value to clients. I mean, you've touched on that a little bit, but let's just do a little brotherly compliment session. You guys will be 10 degrees closer by the end of today. And just say Chris, tell me, what does Joe bring to the table that you feel like you couldn't do it without him?
Well, I think what Joe brings to the table that I couldn't do without it's clarity. So you'll probably see throughout these videos, I can tend to be very wordy, and Joe's very direct, and it's clear and concise. And one of the things I've always said about Joe is that when we set a course or we set a direction, we say, okay, we've got to go here. Joe's like, okay, go, let's go, we're going. And there's not that there isn't a plan, because there's always a plan, but Joe sets his sights on something, he sets his sights on goals, and he achieves them. And that is, so for me to watch that and to see that happening so close to home for me is inspiring all the time. So I would say that for me, one of the things that I've learned or I appreciate with Joe is it's just having that drive, but it's just the clear vision of this is where I want, this is where I'm going, and I'm going to go get it.
Cool. Yeah. And Joe.
And I would say, I've always admired with Chris, with my brother, is the opposite of what I do, is the ability to take a breath, sort of reevaluate on the fly, and maybe it's with questions, or it isn't this, as he eloquently put, you go, okay, you set a goal and then you go, but along the way of going, there might be a speed bump or something there that you do have to sort of reevaluate it as you're going to get to that point. Yes, the quickest point from A to B is a straight line. Sometimes though you have to maybe slow it down a little bit and reevaluate as you're going. Maybe ask a question to yourself or someone, whoever you're dealing with. And Chris he's always been great at that. I think it's amazing sometimes when people, or the people that work with us or for us, and they talk about these magic pills or this magic question that I can ask somebody, and he'll say a phrase or he'll ask a question, and it's like, man, that was just so easy to. How did you come up with that? And it wasn't that he came up with it; he just used the words that you were using and then formed it into a question, and then that just keeps you moving along. And I think that that's always been something that he's been great at. That it helps me to slow down. Yeah, you're getting there directly, but maybe slow it up a little bit.